Whenever you do it, they'll go.
I'm going to go quiet.
All right. Well, there are three of us sharing music this morning. We'll puff up your chest. Yeah.
We're all going to be sharing music.
We're all going to be sharing music this morning. Take a deep breath, you're gonna be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time, you're gonna be okay. This is your turn. Puff up your chest, take a deep breath, you're going to be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time, you're gonna be okay. Puff up your chest, take a deep breath, you're gonna be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time, you're going to be okay. Puff up your chest, take a deep breath, you're going to be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time, you're going to be okay. Thank you.
Welcome to this gathering of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Bowling Green. My name is Janine Grossmeyer. I'm one of the members here at this congregation. Whether you're here in person or joining us online, we welcome you, and we're glad you could be with us this morning. I would ask that if you have these, you please set it to silent. Put your minds down. Thank you. We are a welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, however you identify, wherever you come from, whoever you love, please know that you are welcome here. Our Sunday services are different each week so that we can learn from each other and honor different traditions. Today, our speaker will be our own Valerie Brown, sharing with us news of places far away and information that's important to us here in Bowling Green. Though we each walk our own path, here in this place and now at this time, we will be journeying together as one community. Part of the Unitarian Universalist community throughout the world is the tradition of the flaming chalice. It's a symbol of the light of learning and the love of our community and the fire of commitment. Today, our chalice will be lit by Mark Robinson. If you have a chalice at home, please light that now. Oh no. Fire sometimes needs to be rekindled. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. And now that that has been accomplished, let us sing together, Rise Up, O Flame, hymn 362. Rise up, O flame. Our opening words are going to be read by John Downing.
Intricate and untraceable, weaving and interweaving, dark strand with light, designed beyond all spiderly contrivance to link, not to entrap. Elation, grief, joy, contrition intertwined. Shaking, changing forever, forming, transforming. All praise to the great web.
Thank you, John. we're going to get another chance to sing. Please rise in body or spirit. For Blue Boat Home, it is, hymn 1064 in the teal hymnal. And we will have some wonderful singers helping us through this. Thank you. Hard to believe that was written 20 years ago now. We're going to take a few moments to talk a little bit. So you may have heard of the butterfly effect, and Valerie said, hey, can you talk about the butterfly effect? And I flipped it around and said, I'm going to talk about the effect of a butterfly. This is the blue morpho butterfly, and it lives in Central America. So here's a little story about a blue morpho butterfly. In the forests of Central America, when the rains have stopped and the air is clear, the blue morphos come out, the butterflies come out and dance under the shade of the trees. The males are iridescent blue, brilliant as the sky, as sunlight on water. The females are darker and brown, the color of leaves for safety. And they dance together under the trees. When they grow hungry, they look not for flowers, but for fruit, fallen from the trees on the ground, slowly fermenting, rotting. And they land on the fruit, and their feet touch the fruit, and they taste with their feet. Their taste buds are in their feet. And then they suck up fruit juice, sort of like daiquiris, I guess. Or mint juleps for those of us in Kentucky. And that is how the blue morpho butterflies spend their days, flying under the shadow of the trees, sipping fruit juice. It comes time for the female to lay her eggs, and she looks for the very specific plant she needs. Not she needs, her children will need. For her children, the caterpillars cannot drink fruit juice. They eat green leaves. They get their vegetables. Healthy that way. And she may land on one tree, not the right tree. She can taste it with her feet. That's not the tree her children will need. She lands on another leaf. Again, not the right one. Finally, she finds what she's looking for. Kudzu. Yes. That is where kudzu comes from. She lands on it, her feet touch it. She says, this is what my children need. And she lays an egg on a leaf. She goes to another leaf, lays another egg. Every one of her children will have a leaf to eat when it hatches. So she lays her eggs, and then she goes away and dies. Her eggs on the leaves, hidden on the underside, wait, and they finally come out as little tiny caterpillars, little brown caterpillars. And they are hungry, and they eat the leaves that she has left for them. And they eat lots of leaves. And they're finished with that leaf, they crawl and find another leaf of the same plant and eat that, and eat it, and eat it, and eat it. And they get bigger. And just like snakes shed their skins, baby caterpillars will wriggle out of their skin and split it open and morph. They're called instars. And they will change 4 or 5 times before they too become big enough to be ready to go into their own chrysalis. But it's a dangerous life as a caterpillar. You're crawling around, but the birds are looking for you. And many of these caterpillars, for the mother butterfly has laid hundreds of eggs, are eaten by birds or taken by mommy birds and taken to their baby, and they feed the birds. And so the caterpillars, this one butterfly has laid hundreds of eggs who grow into caterpillars who eat the leaves, who are also found by birds to feed their young. And so we have birds and butterflies and leaves all working together to create the magic wonder of the forest in Central America. Eventually, of course, the caterpillars go into their chrysalises, they sleep, they stay in there for a while, they go through another metamorphosis, a lot more wiggling and squishing around and changing and metamorphizing. Yes, they turn into butterflies. And then they come out, and when the rains are done, they too fly in the shadow of the trees. That's the story and the effect of one butterfly on an ecosystem. We do not have blue morpho butterflies here in Kentucky. They don't live this far north. We do have our own very special butterflies, and they also search for exactly the right plant for their babies. So if you would like butterflies in your yard, in your garden, if you would like more birds who need the caterpillars to eat, plant the plants the butterflies, the caterpillars want to eat. And if you'd like details about that, you can ask me or talk to somebody who knows about plants, because there's lots of beautiful Kentucky plants we can use for that. So that's the story of the effect of a butterfly. Do we have any young people here today who are going to be going to, yes, we're going to sing the children out, the children's recessional. Here we go. Go now in peace, go now in peace, may the love blossom around you everywhere you may go. We're now going to take a few moments for some silence and meditation. The singing bowl sound will lead us into the silence, and then after that, Forrest will play Spirit of Life, which is hymn 123 in the gray hymnal. So we are now time for our speaker, and Valerie will come forth and share her stories from Costa Rica.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Several months ago, when Ken and I returned from a trip to Costa Rica, several members, especially Laura McGee, asked me if I would show some of the pictures of our travels. They asked that I talk about why Ken and I were so enamored with Costa Rica. Did we have a place? Well, so anyway, I agreed to present this morning's message in conjunction with Unitarian Universalist seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. That is the principle that resonates most loudly with me. And after listening to Janine's presentation last week on YouTube about Earth Day, I thought my brief talk maybe would expand further on her points. And I will focus on the wildlife of Costa Rica and that country's contributions to preserving the biodiversity of our planet. But first, I have a special friend with me today, Mark Greenfield. We've traveled a lot with Mark and his wife, Jane. She was my best friend in high school in Missouri. I mean, isn't that just neat? And here we are still connected. He and his wife are current or past board members of the Portland Audubon Society, the Nature Conservancy, and several other conservation organizations. Mark is an excellent birder, and we went out this morning down to Basil Griffin Park, and he's also a wonderful photographer, and I will be showing some of the pictures of the birds that Mark has taken for us. And also, I'm very happy to have Derek Strode with us today. Derek has taken several Gatton Academy students on trips to Costa Rica, and specifically Cloud Bridge that I'll talk about. And he's also on the board, so I'm really happy to have you with us, Derek. So, the seventh principle, respect for the independent web of which we are a part. The interconnectedness of all things is a major theme found in most of the world's religions and philosophical traditions. As UUs, we are reminded that our faith celebrates the creation, not only as a beloved home, but also as a sacred text from which we may draw wisdom. Nature writers like Henry David Thoreau, Lauren Isley, Rachel Carson, Doug Tallamy teach us about our whole relationship to the universe and show that everything is interconnected. As one UU minister writes, the seed of our bodies is scarcely different from the cells in a seaweed, and that is the stuff of our bones, which is like the coral. Earth-centered spirituality is a part of Unitarian Universalist traditions. And in our own congregation, there are those who identify with earth-centered spirituality. The Earth Circle is meeting this afternoon. Oh, already met. Well, cool. They're ahead of me. The interconnectedness of our universe has been pondered for thousands of years. In the 1970s, the Gaia hypothesis, also known as the Gaia theory, Gaia paradigm, Gaia principle, stimulated new ideas and research into natural systems, even though today it is somewhat controversial. The term ecology became a relevant branch of biology during this time. Today, the Gaia principle is considered controversial, but the idea of connectedness remains. We have learned that all components of matter are interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. And then the term biodiversity was coined by E.O. Wilson, one of my favorite science authors. And that was only in 1985. This is really kind of new that we're looking at biodiversity. And it's a contraction of biological diversity. Now, we as UUs honor and respect human diversity, but are we aware of the huge global biodiversity losses, which some scientists warn represent a crisis equaling, even surpassing climate change? We just don't hear that as often. It's a vicious cycle. And there are many levels of biodiversity loss, but the three that have been studied the most are genetic level, species level, and ecosystems. The beautiful blue morpho. The more we study the world around us, the more living things we discover each day. The planet is full of millions of species of plants, birds, animals, microbes. Probably only a quarter of them have been classified and recognized by humans. They are all part of a big, beautiful, complicated pattern, and we are a part of this pattern. When humans interfere with parts of the pattern by polluting the air and oceans, cutting down too many forests, converting wild land to agriculture, blocking wildlife migration pathways, or overusing pesticides and herbicides, animals and plants begin to disappear. An insect apocalypse is reported to be happening right now, and insects really matter. Not just as pollinators, but as predators of pests, decomposers of waste, and crucially, as Janine explained this morning, as the base of the many wild food chains that support ecosystems. For example, a chickadee pair needs over 10,000 caterpillars to feed its brood. What if the habitat for moths and caterpillars continue to be destroyed? Chickadees don't have enough time to evolve to feed their chicks anything else. Well, how bad is it? Very. We have already lost 1/2 of the number of animals living on the earth since 1970. Humans felled forests by 30 million hectares, the size of Britain and Ireland, in 2016 alone. And this has not abated, and we do hear about what's happening to the Amazon. The number of tigers has plunged by 97% in the last century. North America has lost 3 billion birds since 1970. Now, as a birder, that's drastic. It's hard to find those little warblers these days, where there used to just be multitudes in them. Germany reports a 75% decrease in flying insects. Now, many people think that extinction is a natural process, survival of the fittest. However, the extinction rate of species is estimated to be 1,000 times higher than before humans dominated the planet. Even faster than the losses after a giant meteorite wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. And again, many thinkers and scientists believe that the destruction of biodiversity is a worse fate than climate change. Oh, we're all very worried about this, and some of the mental health problems that we're having today is caused by eco-anxiety. I mean, a lot of the teenagers and young people are very aware of what they will be facing. But what can we do? One, don't give up. Do your best. Do one thing at a time. We all have different stages in our life. Sometimes we are retired and we can do a lot more things, but you can do one or two things, even if you're working, just to make things better. Last week, Janine talked about the many programs and opportunities that our own Unitarian Universalist Association has developed and offers to congregations. The Green Sanctuary Program, Create Climate Justice, Ministry for the Earth, and efforts are underway through the world of the Nature Conservancy, United Nations agencies, the Worldwide Wildlife Fund, Wild Ones, our own local chapter, just to mention a few. Even the New York Times has a Climate Forward newsletter, which I find just fascinating. It reports on current climate change news and information. And I've found just this in this week's reading that Ecuador and Bolivia are way ahead of us as they have legitimized the right of trees and the right of nature. These rights have even held up in the face of challenges by mining companies. Now, you know, that is so encouraging. And then there is Costa Rica, another country that has changed its culture to value the environment and its biodiversity. So globally, we have to move toward changing the political will to attack this destruction of our biodiversity. And political will is, it takes all of us. Costa Rica, pura vida. That is the way we greet each other in Costa Rica, and that is the way we say goodbye. It means pure life. So how would you like if just somebody just says, pura vida, pura vida. It's lovely. Costa Rica has shifted away from an agrarian society which removed 90% of its native vegetation for the sake of farming to a culture of ecological preservation and an economy based on ecological tourism. Much of the vegetation that had been lost is being restored by the government and private landowners and NGOs. They are recognized internationally for their innovative projects which preserve the country's incredible biodiversity. And I believe they're another one top or the second to the top of countries based on their population that has the most diversity, biodiversity. One of the things they've done is given up their military, and they're using these government funds for preserving and maintaining parks and wild places. Recycling is just taken for granted. This slide shows, we were doing a little business there, and we're trying to call our attorney, and sure enough, they're closed because they're celebrating the abolition of the Costa Rica Army. What a concept, huh? And here we celebrate all our military days. Well, there is much we can do here in the United States. In 2019, an opportunity opened up for Ken and me to participate in saving a cloud forest habitat, a rare habitat in Costa Rica. Dr. Martin Stone told us about Cloud Bridge Nature Reserve, where the Gatton Academy's study abroad program is located. Dr. Stone leads student groups from Gatton who learn about ecology and research. Martin is the director of WKU's Arboretum here in Bowling Green and is a horticulture professor. He called Cloud Bridge his happy place. And knowing that Ken and I loved nature and were free to travel, he explained the changes that were needed in leadership. They were moving in the wrong direction at this point in time. He asked us to serve on the board and to lend our skills for the preservation of this unique biome. And what a challenge that has turned out to be. We still meet every other Friday at noon by Zoom, and we're talking to Costa Rica and Canada and here in Bowling Green, and we limit it to an hour, but there's lots of business that we do take care of. Cloud Bridge mission is to provide education, research, training, and nature-based activities, especially reforestation. They engage with local and international communities. More than half of the researchers who study at Cloud Bridge are from Europe, Australia, Asia, some from North America, but certainly not the majority. Here are some of the Gatton students, just one of their little posed pictures with the waterfall right behind. Trying to see, you can see Ken over in the corner. And this is Martin Stone right in the middle at the bottom, if any of you know them. And there's opportunities to interact with the local community. They call themselves Ticos because everything is small in Costa Rica, and they just like to refer to themselves as Ticos. Here are some of the students that were learning reforestation techniques. They each developed their own research project while at Cloud Bridge, and this project is carried forth amidst the beauty of the mountains, waterfalls, and extraordinary wildlife and forests. Cloud Bridge Nature Reserve covers over 700 acres of cloud forest. They have a website just at the bottom. I thought you might want to see that, where you can look at yourself, cloudbridge.org. There are more than 100 orchid species, more than 200 species of butterflies, and the diversity of a cloud forest is second highest to a tropical rainforest. I'm going to just quickly go through a few slides showing you the mosses, flowers, trees, all providing food, shelter for the insects and animals, and ultimately the people. An entrance to the trails leading to waterfalls, the memorial garden. This is just one of the many waterfalls, highlighting the ferns, mosses, trees that survive in the mist of the waterfall. There's a beautiful art studio in the middle of the native plants. Coffee, cacao, and other edibles are grown. And here are some orchids that are being cultivated in the nursery at Cloud Bridge, along with many species of trees. Some plants that are just randomly found in the forest. coffee flowers. Next, we're going to look at some of the unique animals found at Cloud Bridge, and there is such a diversity. Little coatis, they are little troublemakers. They run around in troops with their tails held straight up. We've seen them several places in Costa Rica, but we certainly have them, and they get into the nursery, unfortunately, at Cloud Bridge. So we gotta develop another system. Now, I'm going to go through the 6 wild cats of Central America, and these have returned to Cloud Bridge. They've been captured on camera traps, and these camera traps were placed and are now maintained by Cloud Bridge staff and researchers and their interns. The next slide, the jaguar, this is the largest, so I'm going to be showing these in order. The jaguar, this is the black, a melanistic, very rare color variant. Captured at night on one of the camera traps. The second largest is the puma. Yes, the same species that we have here, mountain lion. There's a lot of different names. This is the second largest, and we have one female puma that loves to travel the trails at night and has brought her cub? No, cat doesn't have a cub. Kitten is a kitten, yeah, with her. Doesn't look like a kitten, yeah. But you wouldn't want that one on your lap. Next is the ocelot, which we have here, but this is the most common of the uncommon cats that are found at Cloud Bridge. The jacarandi, perhaps the country's most unusual cat. It's a relative of the puma. It has a long body with short legs, an unspotted coat, and resembles a weasel more than a cat. The margay. This cat is only slightly bigger than our domestic cat, and it is strictly arboreal and can spend its entire life in the trees, hunting monkeys and other tree-dwelling mammals. And finally, the little oncilla, the smallest of Costa Rica's wild cats. And it occurs primarily at higher elevations, like ours at Cloud Bridge and montane forests on the flanks of volcanoes and other mountains. Well, let's move on to a few other of the diverse species. The Baird's tapir, a very old species that this footprint was taken right next to one of the Cloud Bridge employees' feet, just to give you the size of the animal, that weighs between 500 and 600 pounds. They're big, but they're gentle, unless they've got a piglet. I don't know, a little elephant. They're kin to the elephants. Finally, we have, these are pictures of 2 of the 4 species of monkeys. Frogs coming up next. So very beautiful. There's a blue jean frog, and they have this is the blue jean frog. As you can see, he has blue legs. Most of them are poisonous, but they're not killer poisonous. You know, they'll give you, if you get bit by them, they'll give you a sting or give you, a headache, but they're not going to kill you. Some little tree frogs. Now we're going to move into my favorites, the birds of Costa Rica. Most of these are on Cloud Bridge property. There's over 50 hummingbird species. Here in the east of the Mississippi, we only have one regular species, which is the ruby throat. but 50 species, I can't begin to learn all of those by sight. And there are 19 recorded species at Cloudbridge, as well as a total of 204 bird species from 40 different families that have been confirmed by photographs or survey records. Now we're going to move into a few of Mark's photographs. We have the red-lored parakeet and the Hoffman's woodpecker. They have much different needs, as you can tell by the shape of their beaks. The red-lored parakeet eats fruits. The Hoffman's woodpecker eats small insects under the bark of trees and under leaves. Next we have some blue and yellow birds, which we just don't see here either. It's a yellow-crowned euphonia and a golden-headed tanager. This is a fasciated tiger heron. You know, we have great blue herons and the great egrets. This is one of the more common herons in Costa Rica. Oh, these are just beautiful turquoise iridescent birds. The Lesson's motmot and a green honey creeper. Actually, you can see that honey creeper is a very turquoise blue. It's the female that's green. So, and they are very diverse in what they eat, what they need, and again, they're pretty well restricted. Two raptors, a laughing falcon. That's because it's in the morning. It's almost like a kookaburra, you know. It's just, wow. I don't need to be doing that, I know. And it eats small mammals. It also eats birds, you know, and large insects. But this black hawk, we saw it mostly on some of the beaches, but we just couldn't get away from them. They eat crabs. Their favorite meal is crabs. And again, just showing the diversity and what they need. Now, this is Costa Rica's national bird. It's very plain, a clay-colored robin. And the people of Costa Rica, when we asked, well, how come with all these gorgeous birds, how come you have chosen the clay-colored robin, which we see everywhere, as the national bird? And they say, well, we are plain people who are numerous, and this is a plain bird that's numerous. So that's why they picked that. Summer tanager, yes, we have them. They're the same ones that we have here in Kentucky and in North America. They spend the winter in Costa Rica. So this could be one that's in our own backyards. Just look at the distance they have to travel. And the other is just a South American, not just a, but is very vibrantly colored tanager. This is a little orange-billed nightingale thrush, and sitting on its nest, patiently protecting the eggs, even when it's pouring down rain, which it is a large portion of the time in Costa Rica. In the morning, we awaken to their song. Just magnificent. The very first song that we hear in the morning. Finally, this is Mark's and my favorite little wren. It looks pretty big here, but Mark captured this picture, and they're bigger than a Carolina wren, about like this, but they're very affectionate toward its mate. They just sort of cuddle and feed each other and rub bills. They're just kind of amazing to see. Okay, we're near the end, so I want you to know the extent of Costa Rica's commitment. Someday, maybe the United States will join this international quest before it's too late. But the president at the last international meeting, which of course we were not a part, says that Costa Rica is totally committed to take action to halt and reverse biodiversity loss by 2030. This is our once-in-a-decade chance to act together to prevent the collapse of the natural systems that provide our food, clean water, clean air, and stable climate that are the basis of our global economy. So there is hope, folks. There's, the first part sounded so dire and so scary, and it is. It's very important that we're aware of this as Unitarian Universalists. And finally, as E.O. Wilson said, this being the only living world we are ever likely to know, let us join to make the most of it. And on the right is Costa Rica's iconic bird. And this picture just came right off their website from the blog that they put out every single month, as the photograph is from Cloudbridge. So, thank you. That ends my presentation. And be glad to talk to you afterwards about any questions that you have.
So as Valerie said, she'll be available after the service to talk, and we having somebody turn the lights on for us? Thanks. Here we go. It's now time for us to take the offertory. This congregation and the work we do is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who contribute, both here in person, those who send their donations to the church office via mail, and those who contribute online. As the baskets are passed, we're going to be enjoying music. So here we go.
So you might have seen this in the news that Gordon Lightfoot just died this past week. I grew up right on the Great Lakes, so just a few blocks sort of up the shores from Lake Erie. So this is a song I've been playing for decades. I've heard it for a while. It's a joy to be playing with these two. So this is the Requiem of Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Probably all remember, Gordon Lightfoot passed away this week, right? So, one of his most well-known songs, I think. Thanks for sharing it with us today. And thank you for these gifts. May we use them wisely in the service of this congregation and our community. We would also like to thank everybody who made today's service possible. Of course, our speaker, Valerie. Yay, thank you. Musicians, wonderful. Here we have, thank you. Matt, who came through once again in a crunch right before the service started. You may not have realized it, but he was very busy back there. And of course, our greeters, our snack providers, people who help keep our space clean and tidy, and everybody who helps make this church run. So thank you all. It wouldn't happen without you. We do have a few brief announcements. Go through those real quick. So a lot of this is coming out on the email update that goes out on Tuesdays and Fridays. If you're not getting that, please contact our office at office@uubgky.org and ask to be put on that distribution list. We will be having our annual meeting on May 21st. That's coming right up. We'll be electing board members and other positions. We'll also be talking about Article 2, which is, I'm not sure how to explain that one. The large association is taking a look at the principles and the bylaws, and so that has been a topic of discussion. And if you would like to know more about it, please talk to Diane Lewis, and she can talk to you about that. We're also doing annual budget drive. Meditation meets every Sunday at 10 o'clock here in this building. This morning, Earth Circle met for the first time in a long time. Thank you for mentioning that. We had a great turnout. There were 16 people, and we're excited to say that we will be gathering again in June, and then there are plans for a celebration of the summer solstice happening. If you'd like to be involved with that, please contact Christina. There we go. Yes. Okay, come on. Oh, I guess I got to go through each one. There we go. Dance today, right? Yes. Okay, there's dancing today over in the Fellowship Hall at 1 o'clock. Kujan, Kentucky UU Justice Action Network Gathering is having an event on May 11th. Membership question and answer session coming up on the 14th, next Sunday. And that's going to be, I guess, after the service, probably in the library. Okay, great. So if you have questions about our congregation, you want to know more about how to join, what's involved, what to do, then please plan to attend. And if you can't make it, please reach out to our membership group. We are apparently getting together June 11th for our picnic. So put that on your calendars. Circle suppers are back if you like to gather with people from this congregation and get to know each other a little better in a more casual, relaxed setting. You can get together for special circle suppers. Next Sunday, our speaker is Margaret Velto, one line or two, when the choice is no longer ours. So we hope you can join us next Sunday, either here in person or online. So I think that is that for that. Also, we'll be having Summer Light. We're going to be switching to what we call Summer Light programs in early June? July and August, we kind of have a more laid-back approach to Sunday services. So if you'd like to know more about that, again, talk to Diane Lewis, and there'll be something coming out about that in the weekly update with more details. Right after this service, we encourage you to go across the way to our fellowship hall. We'll have snacks and conversation, and you can talk to Valerie about her experiences in Costa Rica. Talk about anything you want. That's part of the fun of coming here, is the great conversations we have. We are now going to sing together another hymn. Please rise and bow to your spirit as you feel comfortable. It is For the Earth Forever Turning, hymn number 163 in the gray hymnals.
I want to play this, I'm going to sing this first line through so you'll get the melody. It's very easy. For the earth forever turning, for the skies, for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and deserts, for the moon, the earth, and sea.
A little bit of confusion there on who was singing the first verse, but there's a website called The Far Fringe, and he talks in it, the owner of that gives a little bit of background on every hymn in our hymnal, a little bit of interest there. This one was inspired actually by a science fiction story called The Green Hills of Earth by Robert Heinlein, and the author read that and was inspired to write this song. The Green Hills of Earth is where, so she named it Blue Green Hills because I guess it rhymed better. Okay, so we are now going to have our final reading, and John Downing is going to share that with us.
When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound of fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go lie down where the wood drake rests, in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
Thank you, John. That was by Wendell Berry, who is a native Kentuckian writer, poet, and an amazing person. So I encourage you to look up more of his work. At this point, we are going to say goodbye to those who have joined us online, and we wish you well and glad you joined us and hope you can join us again. Thank you.